Had some resistance for this, but we're here jumping into Anki. That's what we do. No flashcards do. So what do? We reflect on what and recall and retrieve what we learned yesterday from Make It Stick. Okay. Yes. So we would have read about retrieval and consolidation. I believe yes. We read about consolidation. So what is consolidation? We learned the other day before that what encoding was, but consolidation is taking things that are in short-term memory and moving them into long-term memory. The process of taking short-term memories and actually like uploading them or inputting them into long-term memory. Right. They kind of use an analogy of writing an essay. So at first you're just writing, the structure's not great. You don't even know exactly what you're trying to say, but you're figuring it out through doing it. And through a few revisions, you get some more structure, it gets more polished. Then you let it sit for a day or two and come back the next, day or two later and let it ferment and come back. And then you fine tune it even more. And that's kind of like the process of consolidation. It's clunky, but you just need to get shit down. Then you can refine it over time. What else do we got? I kind of use the analogy of like making a sculpture. Like learning stuff is putting the clay down. Keep adding more and more clay. And then eventually once you got the general shape, the general form, then you can start to refine it and add the details and fine tune it. So that's consolidation. Surely there's more. I think the last paragraph was kind of saying again, like mass practice is not great for consolidation, doesn't lead to very much consolidation or as much as it could because you're not actually, you're relying on short-term memory, which we use an analogy of like a blackboard. We're relying on the short-term memory rather than actually doing retrievals from long-term memory. The process of actually pulling things out of long-term memory has many benefits, but primarily it strengthens the memory trace, aka the actual neural structure, the mental representation. But not only that, it also adds more routes. It reconsolidates, which allows it to connect to more brain regions and ideas. So giving it more routes and connections and retrieval pathways, which means you can use more cues, or you'll have more cues to that memory trace. Okay, so there was a story in that section about a guy that wanted to learn, or he learned this knot, a certain way to tie a knot, a bow line knot, I believe. First of all, before we get in that story, there's two things that this story illustrates, two things that robust learning, two things that make up robust learning. So this is thinking about learning from first principles. What are the two things that make up good learning? First, you actually have to have a memory trace in your long-term memory, right? You have to build the memory trace. You have to actually have like a mental representation. You have to actually have the knowledge, okay? But the second thing is you have to actually be able to pull that knowledge out when you want to and when it's relevant. So there's two parts here, right? You need to build the structure, but you also need to have a pathway to the structure when you need to use it. And so that's the pathways. There's the cue to a pathway. Our cue is basically the trigger to a pathway to the mental representation. And so this bow line knot story is basically this guy learns how to do a bow line knot from a Boy Scout, doesn't use it for a year, forgets it, but then buys a fishing boat and wants to learn it. He remembers, I think there was a specific knot for this thing that I wanted to do. That's a retrieval, pulling this memory out. So then he goes and finds his cheat sheet, and then he starts practicing. And so he starts retrieving. He starts practicing this, and he puts a rope by his couch. And during commercials, when he's watching TV, he's doing the bow line knot. And retrieval, and then eventually he starts applying it into his life. And everywhere he starts to see, I can use a bow line knot here. I can use a bow line knot here. And for a couple months, he finds everything he could use a bow line knot for. And now he has he's retrieved it in so many unique situations. He's got so many pathways. He's got so many memory associations, so many retrieval roots, and the actual knowledge, the ability to do the knot is actually robust. So that's that. Then we got into retrieval. Did we get into retrieval much? This is the act of pulling the memory out of long-term memory back into short-term memory. I don't remember reading much about it though. So let's see if we what we forgot. All right. I don't remember where we would have started. Oh wow, probably here. Right. Okay. I just remember something without even reading the thing I'm remembering. Consolidation occurs over the course of multiple hours to maybe even longer after the retrieval. Okay. Cool. So consolidation, right, is the brain basically going over, it's repeating it maybe backwards, it's looping through this thing you practiced, it's finding where the hard sections are, it's fine-tuning some of the areas, it's filling in blanks, and it's also building more pathways. This is the process of consolidation. So connecting it to previous knowledge. Sleep is important for consolidation, or has been shown to be important. Man, there's a lot. I don't know if this was yesterday, but it seems like I forgot a lot. New memory or new learning, new knowledge is liable, meaning it's malleable, it's plastic, it's very easily changed, especially when it's early. It starts to crystallize more and become more robust with more retrieval and practice. Okay, I think that's good. All right. Cool. All right, yes. Here we go. These are the two things for learning. This is retrieval. Oh, this was in the retrieval section. Okay. Cool. Oh. All right. That's it. Pretty good. We forgot a few things. But yeah, so now what I do is continue to read, and then I'll be back to recall. We only have one paragraph left in this how learning occurs section, so be back in a second. All right, guys. Finish that section. What I got from this last paragraph is basically a couple things. First of all, learning that is meaningful, personally meaningful, has real meaning in your life, that's stickier. It is retained better than information that's not personally meaningful. And so I was just kind of like, well, that kind of, a conclusion that kind of seems like it can be drawn from that is that self-directed learning, whatever that may mean, choosing the classes you're taking, choosing the books you're reading, choosing what you're learning is probably more effective than non-self-directed learning. And basically a couple other things in the last paragraph, learning that some aspects of knowledge that can make it stickier. It's vivid experience, it's like very like, yeah, colorful or unique, or it stands out. Vivid, personally meaningful, and then periodically retrieved, practiced, or recalled. But yeah, I think a really simple way of thinking about all this is encoding is taking here's the start and the end of these three. Start of encoding, external information to short-term memory. Consolidation, short-term memory to long-term memory. Retrieval is long-term memory back to short-term memory. Okay? Next section is going to be, what is it going to be? Extended learning, updating retrieval cues, I believe. Yep. So, right, what is this section about? What is this section about? Okay. What is this section about? Breakfast. All right. Yeah, so I'll be reading this and then back to recall in a second. All right, guys, this is pretty cool. I really think I'm developing a solid mental model of how like the brain actually works as far as memories and learning goes. and then I can actually make predictions about how certain things would work and actually slot in new information as it comes into my existing mental model. But this section on updating retrieval cues has further solidified that and gained more knowledge. Let's try to retrieve everything I just read. There's a lot in there. I will say there's a lot of notes. Well, let's just start with something. Sometimes in life, we need to forget or break an association between a cue and a memory, a memory trace maybe, yeah, cue and a memory, and break that connection and actually form a new connection, a cue with a new knowledge, such as if you were learning Italian, maybe you need to forget the association you have when you hear to be. You think of être, French, and you think of essere, the Italian to be. So right when you hear to be in your language, you think of the French être, and you need to break that connection and reform the cue to this new learning, new knowledge, which is essere, Italian. Okay, such as that. A lot of the times when we actually forget these things we've known well in the past, and we need to relearn these things, you'll notice that things come back quickly, right? You relearn them really quick. Probably because a lot of the times we're not relearning the things, we're actually just locating old memories and building new associations and reforming and re-strengthening those cues. The idea is there, we've just lost the connections to it, and we just have to find the idea again to form those connections and relearn things we knew well in the past. Hold on here. I had a note in there for my last read through, and I thought it was really well written. So I didn't actually write it down, and now it's hard to retrieve without having written it down. Part of it is, yes, here we go. So this is one of those 14 claims the authors make when we're like, there's no known limit to how much we can learn if we use elaboration. Well, what does elaboration mean? I believe now I know elaboration really is about connecting new knowledge, new information, new memories to old knowledge, old memories. So connecting new information to old information, that is elaboration. There's no known limit to how much we can learn if we elaborate. And in fact, learning becomes faster because we have the more things we learn, the more connections we can make to new things. And so learning actually compounds. And that's so cool to me. Unbelievably amazing, that concept. The more connections the more information, the more knowledge we have, the faster and easier it is to learn new things because we have more information to connect the new information to. So more of it sticks, which means we then have more information that we connect new information to. It's very cool, and this is why I used to call learning meta learning. All learning is meta learning because we're getting more information, we're learning new things. Every time we learn something new, it makes learning things in the future, anything really, faster and easier. Not that easier is better, but I like the idea of learning faster and being able to keep extracting more and more information. You know, you read your 101st book and you pull out way more information, and way more information sticks, and what you understand way more things, and you learn way more than your first book, right? And you understand and retain way more on your 200th book than your 100th book, and it's amazing to think like that. Anyway, the bottleneck is not that we can't learn more information. The bottleneck is often that the bottleneck is always, or almost always, our retrieval, because there's no percentage, but the vast majority of the knowledge that we know, the information we have in our brain in long-term memory, is inaccessible in most situations. And I wrote down last time, that's an adaptive advantage. If you had to sit here and comb through millions of pieces of information, how to perform this thing, how to connect your remote to your TV, how to open a bag of Doritos, how to play this thing on the guitar, how to speak to this person, how to manage your emotions in this scenario, how to kick a soccer ball. If you had to all that stuff plus all the facts, whatever the facts might be, Declaration of Independence in 1776, or whatever, whatever the facts maybe you have. Obviously, you're saying I don't have most of them accessible right now. But you know so much, but the cues do not allow you to pull the thing out. So, right, how easily you can pull out information that you have in your long-term memory right now is there's a few factors. One of them is the recency of your last retrieval, how recently you've retrieved it last. Second is how many cues you have to that thing. And then third is the strength of those cues or associations. So we talked about in the last clip things that improve the stickiness of information, of memories. We said personal connection, you can put emotional connection in that as well, vividness, and periodically retrieved. I added another one when I was reading this section, and that was connected to previous learning or already known information, connected to other knowledge. I said compounding effect of meta learning. It's pretty cool. All right. Well, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys later. See you.